Good evening. Thank you for all coming. Be all the blessings be with us today. A beautiful day before the most important day, that is the Mother's Day. So this topic, Martha or Mary, are we in balance? This is one of these conversational passage that Jesus had with people that were around him, walking with him. And I am trying to see if all the teachings that he left more than 2,000 years ago, either directly talking or through the parables, are still applicable today to help our lives, because he taught at that time to help their lives at that time. But how about now? So Jesus and his disciples used to walk together, miles and miles and miles together. And I imagine that they are not walking mute in silence. They're exchanging talks, they're exchanging questions. Jesus may have exchanged so many advice, so many. I just imagine walking with him, slowly, and with this friendly, you see, they stop. What did you say, really? And the other one that is way behind, you see, wants to see what they're talking there. So it's a very friendly walk. And this story happens in Bethany, which is very close to Jerusalem, like 4 miles walking, 4 miles from Jerusalem. But that time, because of the road, you may take 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to do 4 miles. So if you see here, Jerusalem is here, Bethany is here. So either way, when they were coming from the top, from the north, going down to go to Jerusalem, they may stop in Bethany. Or vice versa, when they were in Jerusalem, for many reasons, the feast or the celebration, they would stop in Bethany. So you imagine that this family that is composed by 3 very important people in the gospel, Martha and Mary, sisters of Lazarus. Lazarus is the one that Jesus kind of resuscitated, brought back to life after he was already buried there inside the tomb. He brought back. So this family was very, very close to Jesus, was part of very inner circle. And you're going to see from the conversation how they speak to each other, that they consider Jesus as really a brother. It was not, he's the master. They were very demanding. Like when Lazarus was dying, almost dead, they called Jesus to come to save him. And Jesus took a long time to come, more than a day. And I don't remember if it was Martha or Mary, when he was arrived, said, well, why did you take so long? If you had come earlier, my brother was alive. Now he's there already, dead. And Jesus said, no, he's not dead. So how demanding these 2 sisters were to Jesus. So how close they were. He was really the older brother, So they are probably walking from Jerusalem to Bethany. And they stop by the home of Martha and Mary. So if you see the picture here, in this house, Martha had to, she knew in advance that Jesus and all the disciples, at least 10 of them, if one was missing, 2 were missing, but many men would come, many followers would come, and she had to prepare the house. She had to prepare the shelter. She had to prepare everything, clean the house, all these things. That was her job, or at least she felt that was what she's supposed to be worried about, to receive well Jesus and all the disciples that were following him. So she was always worried, running back and forth. So Luke, in this chapter 10, 38 to 42, he describes the scenario. Well, Luke is one of the evangelists that never met, just as a historical information. Luke was the evangelist that never met Jesus, because by the time he started to follow Jesus' teaching together with Paul, Jesus was gone already. So Luke was a medical doctor in a navy, in a ship. And on these encounters that Paul was traveling from one part to the other through the sea, of Mediterranean Sea, he met Luke. And with this coincidence or inspiration from above, one day Paul said, "Why don't you follow us? Why don't you take a break in your job and follow us?" And then he said, "By the way, yes, I can, because we are changing something. Yes, it's a good opportunity for me. I'll follow you." And that was a blessing, because in the end, every information that Paul collected by walking after he converted, by going after all the disciples, by going after Simon Peter, by going after Mary Magdalene, by going after the mother Mary of Nazareth, to get the information he had there. But in the end of his life, Paul felt he could not write his gospel. He could not. There was no time. He would die before. So he gave everything to Luke and told Luke, "You have to go after Mary, the mother, Jesus' mother, and collect all the information you can. You have to sense in your heart what Jesus was, and go around and meet everyone that had the direct influence, direct contact." And Luke, being very, well-educated, because he was a medical doctor, he could gather other side of the story better than the others. But you see the influence of John, a great influence on Mary of Nazareth. And you see that his gospel, they say, is the most heartfelt gospel, is the most kind, because it has Mary's descriptions of Jesus. So it's a very tender gospel compared to the others. So Luke, everybody likes really Luke's gospel, says the following: "As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village, which is Bethany, where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Running here, running there, cooking here, getting all the things prepared, the table, big table. Oh, she was going crazy. So look the tone of her demand to Jesus. She came to him, to Jesus, and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself?" She's demanding him to pull Mary's ear. Instead, she's saying, my sister, why don't you come to help me? No. Lord, why don't you go there and tell her to come to help me? You believe this liberty is interesting. And then the response from Jesus was very interesting. He said, Martha, Martha, you are so anxious and troubled about many things, but few things are necessary, or only one is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. That was tough. And we left here thinking, what is this? Is this that wrong to be Martha? Because I identify a lot with Martha. If I see some guests coming, oh my God, my hair would be here, cooking, cleaning, all these things. And I would be upset with Mary because Mary was there talking to Jesus there nicely, forgetting all the things that says. So what you guys think about? Do you want to? Do you want to say something? If you identify with one of those two women, sometime in your life, less now or more now?
Yes, definitely a Martha.
You are more Martha
More
in terms of
Martha.
percentage.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if we can have a middle point.
Okay. Janet?
Yasco, I identify myself as a Mary. The beginning of my time here was 2002 or 3. I had a job that didn't pay very little, and I needed an extra job after doing to survive. And I could take like 4 hours after 6, work 6 to 10, and have extra money. And I decided not to do that.
To do Mary's part.
Yes, I decided to come to the SSB.
Oh, so you had the Mary's. You gave to you the Mary's portion.
Exactly.
Boost your Mary portion.
Yes.
Okay, that's
that
good.
I never did. I never worked extra hours that I needed to come here, and I never regretted.
Okay,
it
that's
was
good.
a
That's
good decision.
Good. That's very good. Yeah. Paula.
I've gotten tired of being Martha. So I find it easier to be Mary. It doesn't mean that you don't prepare, but once the guest is there, you're totally with the guest.
Exactly.
So thank goodness.
That's a good reminder before Mother's Day, okay?
Thank goodness for carryout.
Yasco, I'm going to challenge you on a problem, or personal problem that I have. Sometimes Martha, sometimes Mary, but there is a conflict in the middle.
Okay.
That once you live one unattended, your brain start to question. And then when you go to the other side, your brain start questioning as well. So I think I do some balancing, but I get troubled sometimes because that stays in behind. It kind of come. You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that. And then the Mary part comes and say, wait a minute. But there is a conflict at times.
I think you are in the perfect balance. Because those that don't have this conflict, they only will find lost when it's too late. Let me turn, did you turn off this? Okay. Because the conflict means you know the importance of these two portions. You know the importance. You have just to manage the best way to get the most profit for yourself, for your relationship with your kids, for your relationship with the whole community. So material needs, to provide the material needs versus to nourish the emotion, the psychology, etc. So you are in the best position because you're going to see later that I'm going to show many people regretted when it was too late to jump to the other side. And usually it's easier to overdo the Martha's part because Martha's portion demands is an everyday demand. You don't need to make any effort to say, oh, I have to pay attention to this. Because if you don't, it's there asking for your attention. But the other part, no. It needs really a conscious decision. Because you say, well, my daughter, soon, I may not have, because they will go to college, and I will regret, why didn't I spend more time with them, right? So I think it's perfect. Okay. So in this book, it's called In the Footsteps of the Master. This Vinicius is a pseudonym. But it's very nice because it was published by the Federation, so I feel it was a good analysis of the importance of this book. So I translated, because he did a very interesting description of Martha. Martha was sensible, not that she was rude, no, sensible, although she was straightforward with Jesus. Industrious, thoughtful, very thoughtful. She was worried about her guests. Always acting with method and calculation. Oh, that's me. So that in all her acts, one could discover the prevalence of a mature reasoning. Mary had a passionate spirit, careless perhaps about practical things. Oh, tomorrow I can do it. Teenager mind, tomorrow, later, Enthusiastic of spirituality. She was an idealist who allowed herself to be carried away by the heart. It's a beautiful description. Martha was flawless woman in the eyes of the world. Everyone just said, she's right. Oh my God, of course she has to do it. While Mary, her sister, would not be entitled with the same appreciation because of the marked idealism that dominated her. But Mary went beyond, transposed, albeit unconsciously, the boundaries separate the human from the divine. So she was more ahead to connect with the higher level, spirituality, the heavenly realm. For the world, the good part is utilitarianism, so be useful. So Mary's portion is to be useful. Whereas for Jesus, it is idealism. So that's why Jesus said, Mary chose the best part, because he wants us to be more idealistic, to go beyond, to transpose the everyday business, because that you can squeeze very quickly tomorrow, but not what you lost in terms of teachings. In this particular, as in many others, the judgment of the master contrasts that of the man. Thus, we see him openly say, Mary chose the good part, which it will not be taken. The innumerable needs that make the torments of most men and women are fictitious, pure ruins created by unbridled passions, vices pursued by imitation and fed by selfishness. Don't we do a lot of things because my colleague also is doing, my cousin is also doing? especially when we're young, we want to be in that, same thing. Oh, yeah, my colleague, my friend has this, why not me? Why not, we want to imitate. And all this advertisement, all this shopping, etc., we are always driven to copy. And a lot of our acts are only thinking about ourselves, right? The real need is, strictly speaking, only one: to evolve, to walk in the path of perfection, which is the meaning of life. Seek first the kingdom of God and his justice, and everything else will be given to you in addition, as taught by the greatest idealist who passed on the earth, which is Jesus. So, we have to think, especially the Spiritists, we are here as an immortal being, just passing a very short trip here, but has a very important, goal to reach here, is to evolve. We cannot pace in the same place, doing the same thing, and expecting that the result will be different. The result will be the same. So we have to change. We have to change if we want different result. And each day is a day for learning new things, put our dreams to become a reality. But we have to be aware of that. I want to talk about this gentleman because his life and what happened to him after he died, it bothers me a little bit, because I was considering that, look at his life, which I could mimic. I would be well when I die. No, he was not. And the way he describes, do you know who is him? Frederico Figner is brother Jacob that wrote the book Voltaire, which is I Came Back. So as soon as he went to there and he was astonished by his low level of light, so many people, many spirits had a brilliant light, and his light was very tiny. So he couldn't believe that what happened? What did he do so badly in his incarnation? So then he started, of course, to analyze his last existence to see, and he said, now I have to tell my people, because if I don't tell them, they will incur in the same mistake. And I don't want my friends to have the same problem. So he wants to talk, I came back, talk all this experience just after he died, and his life, to see how he was. So he was a very harsh analyst of himself. Very harsh, he says. So he was Jacob, brother Irmão Jacob. So he lived 80, 90 years old. So he wrote this book. He was the protagonist. He was the main protagonist of this book, Voltaire, I Came Back, and portrays himself as one of more of those literate and proud spirits. He says, I was too proud. My pride was there, and often he put this pride while he was doing things in the spirit center. That he held a high position in the institution and was irreplaceable. He thought he was irreplaceable. That's his analysis of himself. Oh, I thought I was irreplaceable. But he did not perceive his arrogance and unpreparedness in dealing with people, and that therefore he was detested by all without realizing it. But that is not, he was not that bad, according to people that lived with him. That's what bothered me. If I feel I'm not so bad, and now I go to the other side, I feel I am really bad person without any light. Can you believe the shock? That's what he had. So I said, oh my God, is the way we perceive ourselves very different when we are in the other side? Here we are kind of, we don't see well, we don't realize well, but there the things is clear. That got me scared, really. Because you're going to see what the biographers says about him. The ones that wrote his life here, they were very good, have very positive, information about him, opinion about him. He says, but earthly biographers portrays him as a great man, an enterprising spirit who won greedily the slippery and dangerous test of wealth. He was very wealthy. He was an entrepreneur, very smart. He preserved the candor of the believer, the faith that carries mountains, without falling into religious fanaticism. So he was well balanced. I can be like that, no? But so he was a very good entrepreneur. He would like to develop technology. He knew Thomas Edison. He wanted to put everything in Brazil. So he was a Jewish guy coming from the Czechoslovakia area. So he had a good gene too to put everything to work. So he brought to Brazil the phonograph, the gramophone, and the first record company, Odeon, to Brazil. Was the first vinyl disc. He was the one that put in Brazil. He put together many good artists that they want now to record because everything was alive, remember, in Brazil, was in the stage, alive. Now was the record, could record music. But look at that. He daily went to the Federation to write 150 to 200 medicine prescriptions. He was there diligently every day. The spirits would dictate the prescription he would write to distribute to the needy ones. Aren't he a good man? According to Chico Xavier, in the letter to Fab, in that book, Testimonies of Chico Xavier by Sueli Caldas Schubert, he wrote a very tender letter to Fab, donating the $10,000, which is amount today, that Figner gave to Chico, donated to Chico. Because Chico was always having problem with money. But he said, here, Chico, buy things for you. He said, no, I cannot have that. So he donated to the Federation to buy all the equipment for the printing press. So the first printing press in the Fab was thanks to Figner's donation. And he made many, like he created the retreat for the artists in Rio de Janeiro. He was a very, he would give a lot of help to the ones in need. He never deviated from the humble posture, although he was very literate. He cultivated the highest social relations in parallel with the loving relationship with the unhappy and suffering. Imagine, is a good match? I have a lot of money, but I still have sensitivity to the ones that are, Generous soul, he welcomed in his own house 14 sick people, victims of the outbreak of the Spanish flu that devastated our country in 1918, and that not rarely led to death. So he had that people, but he ran to serve others. He ran for the needy ones. So why a person like that, although he sometimes was tough, demanding too much, perhaps in the spirit sense, why his light was not so brilliant there when he died? I feel it's by comparison, because they were so, a teacher that her light was huge. His daughter that died before him also had a big light. But is also our light be so small? I'm kind of worried about it, because this man did a lot. He did a lot of, volunteer. He helped a lot. So I felt, well, probably when we go to the other side, our mind is so much more clear to analyze ourselves. We see more clear what we could have done better. And here we kind of get distracted. Yes, I have my kids. I have to first feed my kids. I have first, something like that. That's the only explanation I have. So there is a new, a more recent book that it tries to put this question of Martha portion, Mary's portion in this present world. So he say, having a Mary heart in a Martha world. So the things is still very demanding for women to accomplish, materially speaking, not only at house, but in the world. But the man is also falling to this. I saw many stories of male Martha, because they thought that by putting all the effort, attention in their career, to make money, to put to their family, is enough, is what he's supposed to do. But then many say, well, when my son died in the early age, I really regret why I was working 17 hours per day, not coming early home. Why did you do that? Why did I do that? For what? Why didn't I have, like Jeanette said, having less money, even if she was in need to have money, but said, no, in the evening, I have to nourish my spirit. That's important even for me to go after the material need. So in the life of a woman today isn't really all that different from the Mary and Martha of the New Testament. Like Mary, you long, so you wish to sit at the Lord's feet, but the daily demands of a busy world just won't leave you alone. Like Martha, you love Jesus and really want to serve him, yet you struggle with weariness, resentment, and feelings of inadequacy. That's what these things of running after the things very often brings frustration, because we cannot be perfect. We are always running after something that we didn't do it. Is someone asking for new shoes? No, I cannot provide that. A new, a car or whatever. Then comes Jesus right to the midst of your busy, so my busy Mary, Martha life. And he extends the same invitation he issued long ago to the two sisters of Bethany. Tenderly, he invites you to choose the better part. A joyful life of living room intimacy, like Mary was with him, that flows naturally into kitchen service for him. So you cannot be secluded cooking there in kitchen and forget how many we do that. Mothers, not now anymore, probably we got smarter, but my mother, my grandmother's time, they would die in the kitchen. Mother's Day cooking, from the appetizer to the homemade cake by herself. And they would be tired. And by the time the guests would come, they were still there running. And they didn't have time to take a shower, to be beautiful, to receive the guests. They were all late. How many of us have this situation home? And plus, now she has to serve. Each one of us, she has to serve. My sister is still doing that, you know. So it's a big warning for us women, you know, please. And the man I heard one story said, I wish my mom could let me take her to a lunch and not be so in a rush and not even have time to talk to me. Why? You know, why can't she accept the help? Why can't you agree with the potluck? You know. So this person, Stephen Kenneth, he looked like a foreigner, but he's a Brazilian in São Paulo. He writes about that. He has, I think, articles in the newspaper. He says, family in the first place, over, first place, not exclusively, over work, financial career success, friends, society duties, and even religious spiritist duties. Chico Xavier, which had a lot of things to do in the Spirit Center, until he had all the sisters to take care of and work, he had a job. He spent all these daily hours, work and family. And he would go only after that to the Spirit Center to write, to psychograph, and to give all the meals to the people. He said that he never left the family after. It's always the family first. But you have to find a time in the evening, the weekend, to do your other contemplative and mindfulness activity. And this educator, David McKay, he's a religious leader, he said, no other success can compensate for failure in the home. That's where many men also felt they waste their time. They did not manage well the time. Because when you lose your family for many reasons, drug addiction, going with not good company, etc., you say, what have I done? Well, I provide so much, but is that what matters? Really? You know, you were not there to, when they needed. So American cinema often portrays the cliche of the busy executive who cannot get to his daughter's playtime or her son's game in time. Are you going to your daughter's theater performance, arriving late because you have to work? You cannot go? You know, if he had placed the family first, the executive would have arrived on time, would have personally taken the child to the soccer tour event, would have given her, the daughter, the necessary psychological support in the moments of distress preceding a theater, a performance, or a game. They need. They're looking for the face of the mother, the father, to cheer for them. And if we miss that, that has a big consequence in later. You all know how happy they are when they see you. So, tips to have Mary's mind and goals in Martha's present world. So there is a lot of things in the internet, of course, because there is something called Martha's syndrome. So Martha's syndrome is in all this turmoil. Gym, have to take the kids there, and many things to do. So they say, you have to set your priorities. There is no way for you to be happy dealing with these two antagonists, polarity, and be happy. You say, well, I'm going to set my priorities. I know I cannot do all things. Priorities. What is your priority? I have to say. family, work, social, religious commitments. You have to think about. What do you think about these commitments? Is there something that you can say, no, yes, this is no, something like that, and learn to say no. We have to learn to say no. Because otherwise, we will be, at work, especially if people come and do this to me, oh, why don't you, whatever, you get involved. Reduce or cut out secondary activities. What is secondary activity? Social media, too much social media. Cut that, you're gonna see how much time is left. Shopping, why we have to go to shopping so many times? That's crazy, that's crazy. Take care of the physical body to be considered, I invented this word, completist. This is a Portuguese word that the Spiritists say when we go to the other side. Say, did you complete well all what was given to you before incarnation? Did you use well your vital fluid that was given to you? Or you wasted it by pedaling too much in the same position, by pumping the gas when you don't need to do it? What did you do that? That is eating badly or not doing exercise or whatever it is. So we have to take care of the physical body. There is no way not to take care of that. And if that's true, they say that to organize a meal is the most important thing. You have to organize in advance. Because by the time we are hungry, whatever it is there, we grab and eat, which is usually snacks, which is bad. So we have to organize meals in advance. So when you're not hungry, you organize. That's good for me. I'm going to cook this. I have this. Now with the freezers, it's easy to do it, right? So simplify your life. There's so many things that we get entangled. We drive ourselves crazy. We do this crazy thing to ourselves. Why you have to do this? Just simplify. There's so simple way to do the things. You don't need. So don't confuse activity for accomplishment. There are people that say, oh, but I'm very busy. I have to do. But that doesn't mean you're accomplishing well things. You're just burning your gas. But good accomplishment of good things, perhaps not. You're burning your gas with heat, a lot of heat. When the work is not useful, we waste in terms of heat. That's what the machine does. Don't take life too seriously. So much busy neurosis stems from fear. Nothing in the affairs of men is worthy of any great anxiety, said Plato. Oh my God, we really sometimes go crazy, neurosis, because of fear. Fear of what? We are here to do perfect, not to do everything perfectly. It's fine. If someone is demanding from me, there is no angel, no perfect person to demand this from any of us. So I'm too busy syndrome. Look at that. There is one, cobaia, guinea pig, or hamster, yeah. With the cell phone there, but still saying, I am too busy. I cannot pay attention. Sure. The other one is doing his work that he's supposed to do. Playing, he was playing with that. But the other one is sitting there with a cell phone there. And still saying, you cannot see, but here is written, I am too busy. Yeah. So value your time. Don't waste your time with redundant tasks. Aren't we doing twice, 3 times? Why you sweep that floor so many times? Don't get distracted. We get distracted. Oh, let me see who sent my and then we see all the Facebook or everything, and instead of being just 10 seconds, is 1 hour, you know. You never get this moment back. This is a very serious thing. Make the most out of your experience called life. If you miss that opportunity, you didn't give that attention, you don't know how much we missed. Because that person could have been in a different position. I could be in a different position. So why? Sometimes people don't even look at you, say, acknowledge. What did you ask? What did you want to know? They keep, and if they say, yeah, look at the cell phone. I feel offended if someone doesn't look at me in my eyes and say, I acknowledge you, but I'm busy now, but I'll go back to you. You have to spend a couple of sentences. But you don't even look at the person. Give opportunities to the new, the old dreams, the enlightening activities. Nourish your soul, your mind, your thought, your emotion. We all have dreams. Don't we have dreams? Why put under the rug? I don't have time, I'm too busy. Sure? When are we going to do? Well, I would like to do some mosaic, some paintings. Why not? You know, why not to give to yourself this opportunity? May come something very nice, you know. Balance activity with rest, mindfulness. This is very important. If we don't rest, we will burn our fuel without producing a useful work. It's that machine that runs, you know, and burn the oil. Just as you need activity to accomplish something, you need to rest to support your activity. Meditate, take a walk outside, get a good night's sleep, and read a book. Life is a delicate dance of the yin and yang. So Jesus, I see that picture of Jesus walking with how much of a lesson he gave to them and how much nourishment, to the point that some of them could write the Gospels. And the stories were repeated many times because there was no way to write down, no way to have. So it's all by listening many times the same stories. So don't forget, we are here to learn, to be tested, to evolve, and our short passage as incarnate has an unknown, at least to us, an expiration date. God, we're gonna go. We don't know when. So it's better to think, well, I'm here to evolve, so what will be the best thing? To keep cleaning my house, washing my clothes, or can I take 2 hours to do something that I will feel more creative, more relaxed, more, I can connect better with people. And of course, Kardec, in his tomb, he has this, to be born, die, again, be born, and so progress. Unceasingly, such is the law. So that's what we're here for, is the planet of trials and expiation. If it's trials, we have to keep doing new things. We cannot be in the same grade the whole life. We have to be, courageous to say, let me jump to the next grade, next course, to see if I do well. And we will do well, yeah. And this guy is the same religious, David McKay. Again, he says, no other success can compensate for failure in the home. The poorest shack in which love prevails over a united family is of greater value to God and future humanity than any other riches. Humanity, because we are preparing our kids. Our kids will pass all these values again. In such a home, God can work miracles and will work miracles. You won't believe how much the kids change when they start to have the attention from their parents, especially when they are tiny. Because they want to do bad things to call attention. They want attention from the parents. So, and he said, which I would like to end up my 93 years old, if I live longer like that, with this sense about life. He says, so he's 50 years after he said about family, he says, I love life, he said. I think it is a joy to live in this age. Every morning, as I view from my window the mountains to the east and greet the sun as it ushers in these unexcelled autumn days, I feel the joy and privilege of life and appreciate God's goodness. So can you believe you say, my life was beautiful, right? Okay, so because it's a Mother's Day, I said you're gonna have to have me a little bit longer. Chico Xavier wrote, psychographed these poems called The Portrait of Mother, of a Mother of Mother. The Spiritist is Maria Dolores, psychographed by Chico. So I tried to translate. I don't know if we can read. Oh, this seems. Let me see. After much time in the dark quarters of the Calvary, Judas, blind, let me see if I can read here. Judas, blind in the beyond, wandered in solitude. The landscape was sad, the sky was foggy. Tired of remorse and suffering, he sat crying. So this was just after he died. He hung up at the Jesus crucifixion. Then a noble lady from the superior plains, surrounded in heavenly splendors that he could not distinguish, arrives and pats the poor man's head. Then, in a tone of deep affection, almost in prayer, she tells him, "My son, why are you weeping? You do not know, do you?" replies the questioner, clearly aggressive. "I am a dead man, and I am alive. I killed myself, and I am up again." So he's all confused. Without comfort, without home, without love, and without faith. Didn't you hear of Judas, the traitor? It is I who have annihilated the life of the Lord. At first, I thought I could make him the king, but I only impose upon him sacrifice, martyrdom, blood, and cross. And in plague and affliction, this is where my life is now reduced. Go away from me. Let me suffer in this endless hell. Ask me nothing. Go away, lady. You know nothing of the hurt that stirs me. You will never penetrate my infinite pain. The situation that I complain is mine alone. However, the lady calmly replied, My son, I know your suffering. I know your fight. I know the pain that causes you to feel the remorse that you hear. I just came to talk to you that God is always love everywhere. And she added serenely, the goodness of heaven never condemns. I come to you as a mother seeking a beloved son. Suffer patiently the pain and the trial. You will soon have a new experience. Do not feel alone or scorned. Judas interrupted her and shouted, rude and astonished, Mom, do not come here with lies and sarcasm. After hanging myself on a fig tree branch, to wake up in pain with no more power to escape the true life, I went to seek comfort and strength to live at the foot of the poor mother who had forged my being. She saw me weeping, listened to my cries, but she was afraid of my suffering. She expelled me, cursing. She called me monster, by the way. She said that I was just a spirit of evil. She intimidated me with a terrible setback, telling me to hurry my return to the infernal zone from where, by the way, I was coming. I hate to remember the horrible mother I had. Do not tell me about mother. Do not tell me about love. I'm just a suffering monster. Even so, the lady said sweetly, no matter how you refuse me, I won't give up. I love you, my son. I love you, and I want you to see again the life, beautifully covered in peace and light, in faith and devotion, elevation. You will come to earth. You will lose little by little your violent mood. You will have your heart in the blessed waters of forgetfulness. In a new existence of hope, I will take you with me. A sturdy shelter, I'll give you another mother. Think and rest. And Judas, in that instant, like anyone who forgot his own giant pain, or as someone torn from the nightmare behind, he asked, who are you that you speak to me like this, knowing me a traitor? Are you a divine woman radiating love, or a heavenly angel of whom I perceive the light? However, she, looking at him face to face, replied simply, my son, I am Mary. I am the mother of Jesus. So, happy Mother's Day. Thank you. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, I tried to make the English version as better as possible. Okay. Questions?
I don't know, it's a question, it's a comment, or is I don't know.
It's okay.
It is okay, right? I'm in this meditation thinking, you know, in currently in our days, we need to work, not work like as a job, but work. You know, we need to take care of ourselves, our home, etc., etc. So to find the right balance, because being Martha is not completely negative, and being just Mary, it will be completely negative, right? So it is how are we going to find the balance And in one of your slides, you show the word mindfulness. And I think that's the key. If we are in the present moment right here and right now, so I'm very mindful that I'm in the spirit center and nourishing my soul, etc., etc. But if I am mindful that I'm cleaning my house or I'm running errands, that's what I am doing. Somewhere in the gospel according with Spiritism, it says that work is any useful action. So even when you rest, it's work. And when you work with a mind, with a purpose, you are also praying. So here is like a cycle of things. I believe it's like being mindful of what I am doing. So I'm praying, I'm being useful, and I'm giving my best. That's my
I think you're right. While we are in this planet, which is, we have to accomplish a lot of material goals. There's no way not to think about, because we may lose our body. We may lose, the shelter and then the health because we're not taking care of the things. So while in this level of this planet Earth, there is no way with this heavy body, physical body, that needs a lot of care, we cannot forget about the Martha part. There is no way to do that. But what it is the too much tilting to one side, to Martha's part. So you have your family, but how you want your family, what can you provide to your family in terms of wholeness? Is only giving the goodies, material goods, or if I give it some kind of toys or whatever, computer, etc., I can stay. I have all the excuse, the guy would think, to stay working. I feel justified to be at working extra hours, but this is not correct. With the regret, we feel the choice was not correct. Because actually, we have to balance. Perhaps not much material goods, but be at the soccer game. Be at your daughter's prom. Oh, but I have to work. Please, you cannot say that. I cannot go to your prom because I have to work. Well, it's once a year. That's what I usually say. Is once a year, and to work is working 5 days, 6 days, or 5 days per week. How many days you work? So why can't we once a year go, or twice or 3 times go to the game? It doesn't make sense. So I think I see that thing of Jesus said, he's passing, although they were close friends, he's passing once in a while, once a year, maximum twice a year. So if he goes there, and they know by them that he was the master, he had great things to say, how can't you just miss that part and say, no, but I have to prepare the food for you, master? And he would say, okay, it's good to him, but is that important? I'll bring the one account from Divaldo. Divaldo says, Brazilians like a lot to receive people. When he goes to do his talk, he's always has some host, and the host, usually they overdo. They want to prepare big lunch, big reception, big what, and they were all. And so he was there, he was about to go to the, I don't know if it's the center, whatever place to talk. Until coming, he said to the lady, oh no, I have to to stay here because I have to finish this in order for after you talk for the lunch. He said, don't even worry about it because I won't come back. I won't come to your house. If you don't go to listen to my talk, I don't come for your reception. Because I didn't come for that. I came to talk. And you're supposed to listen to me. All the people shouldn't be worried about a little thing, but not a big thing that she cannot even go there. So he said, that is the wrong part, is the exaggeration, is the excuse, oh, but I want to feed you well. But is this the important part compared to his talk? That he's coming once in a while there? So that's what I feel we have to balance exactly. And of course, while you're doing the material thing, if you still can take advantage of being mindfulness, this is an extra. But still, while you're doing things, you may be missing something. So I think we are now in a phase that we can discern better. What for my life in this stage? Each age is different. While you're raising the kids is one thing. While you are building up your career is another thing. Well, once you almost retired, it's another thing. You can invest in yourself much more, right? So even the excuse, oh, I have to do to the Spirit Center, even that you have to think about if it is worth missing something important for your family. That's what they say. Because if you lose your family, what spiritists can do for that? It's too late.
I would like to share a comment, something that happened to me today. I was, and that goes along with this as well, that I think that it's a comment, not a question, and you can actually comment on it as well. I was helping two customers dealing with the public, a mother and a daughter, and we came across a conversation that the father had to be together with the mother to take care of another issue that they needed help with. And funny enough, that the mother said, well, he's everywhere with me. And then the daughter turned sarcastically, said, physically. And then she started laughing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know if I was supposed to, laugh, or it was an awkward moment. But the point is, and she after, said, I love the man to death, but he is there only physically. He's not there spiritually speaking. And that is, I was thinking about that as well. And as you were talking about this, I think that's another extrapolation of this situation as well, that sometimes we are at the game, we are with the family, but we're there only physically. We're not mentally, we're not spiritually.
While you're there, you are typing in your laptop while she's playing, huh? So cell phone calculation.
It's the other.
Now they're going to pay attention, you.
It's the other opposite, the other extreme that sometimes we are at, and this is not only with family, but everywhere we go, we tend to have the distractions that we're, okay, I'm here, but are you truly here? So I think that the mindfulness that you connected again, I don't know if you have came across other instances as well.
Yeah, you see the little kid, when they're learning to do something, like to bike, they say, Dad, look at me. And the dad sometimes is not paying. Look at me. Did you see that? Did you see that? So they want you to pay attention to their accomplishment. So if you don't pay, they notice. They notice. There was a case that, a true story, a young guy, he became a good writer. I think he went to the school, and while he was in the school, he had to write some essays. So he started to give to some other person in the Spirit Center to read if that essay that he was writing was good. And his mother suddenly thought, why he's not showing me, why he's showing other people in the Spirit and not me? And then he said, I don't know in the best way he could say, well, every time I was excited to show you, you were cooking. You interrupted. Wait a minute, I have to do this. And then he started to talk again. Oh, 1 second, I'm going to do that. Did you feel this, how terrible it is when you are so excited to talk and someone is not paying attention, get distracted, and goes to see if the rice is burning or something, you know, some trivial things, you know, so he's not paying attention. So he said, in the end, you were just a maid for me. You were not my mother because you were preparing things to provide to me, but he never paid attention to those very precious things that I was creating. So he gave up slowly, and he didn't even notice that he gave up on showing to the mother. So pay attention if your kids are still coming to you to show the accomplishment, because they get frustrated. They get frustrated. As an adult, I feel frustrated. So anyway, so we have to be mindful. You're talking to me, I'm completely absorbing you. That's what we have to do. Even if it's short time. Can be short time, but completely.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Paula?
Thank you. Those are words of wisdom to live by. And I do think that there is a cultural pressure here in the United States to accomplish and be busy. And I also see that in Japan. So you have a double header having moved here and having your heritage, but you're doing a good job of reflecting and balancing. I just wanted to share this little writing. In the morning, I read from the Jesuits, and some days, like what you're doing here, the reflection really requires more time. So this one is called Look Inward. Look not outward, but within. Self-knowledge is at the root of all real religious knowledge. And this is why the beginning of true religion cannot lie in a book or in science or in arguing or in listening to sermons. To look into the soul is to begin to find God. However able the sermon, however sacred the book, it will teach nothing to the person who has not started to look inward. And then there's a quote, I think, from the Old Testament. The Lord does not see as mortals see. They look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart.
Yeah.
And that heart brings me back to your original question of what happened to this man who was so productive and so industrious. So the only clues were back in some of that original description about maybe a tilt to the arrogance, or it wasn't that he didn't invite the poor into his home. It wasn't that he didn't show humbleness, but at his very core, he seemed a little more of that type A driven to accomplish and be in a hurry than this opening of the heart.
Exactly. He was always running. But he called himself arrogant. No other person said, but probably was true, because otherwise he could have a much brighter light and compared to his daughter, for instance, you know, from that teacher. So it brings to us that, like, his book also is a warning to us. That's why he wanted to write, to say, I know many people think he's correct, he's doing fine. And suddenly they're going to have this shock that I had. So I think probably he didn't look to the eyes while he was giving, you know, the little food or sheltering, etc., etc. You know, so true. I think it's correct. You are just physically present, but are you really, you know, into the soul, into the heart of the person, you know? Question more?
Anyone else? Well, a lot of food for thought, right? she was looking this corner here, and somebody was here in this corner. So I feel like I have a lot of
No,
work
the
to
Japanese, but they're paying a great price for that. A lot of mental problem, a lot of unfitness to the society, because you cannot stay in that artificial mode if for too long. And the kids, the way I see, I don't know if the Japanese, they change a little bit because of this mix. The culture is already more open after the war. But my experience with my Japanese grandparents, although they were warm because they were coming from the south, but still I felt there was no much of eye contact, no hugging. Which, live in Brazil and you see other kids doing this, you feel something terrible. And when the little kids in Japan, they are having these problems of not being fit, and usually it's because of bullying among kids, they go to suicide. And when they have that situation, they say the parents don't know what to do because they were not taught how to physically embrace the kid. And so people that have the Spirit Center in Japan, which are Brazilians, they come to the Spirit Center to learn how to physically embrace and hug their kids. To go eye to eye. Imagine the drama. So it happened the same thing here. When 9/11, many people didn't know how to console. I'll go there and do what in this situation? What kind of help I can offer? Because Americans were more to immediate thing. Here's it, you need these things, here you have. But to give the heart, we're not taught for that. Nobody teaches us to give our heart. Is there a course during, elementary, high school, and college, how to give a heart to a colleague that is going through a tough time? Or when you have a suicide among your classmates? Did we learn about this? No, we didn't. So only when happens this kind of things, we say we have to transcend. And this is a learning. This is a practice. We cannot just right there say, oh, I can connect now. I'm in another phase. No, there's no way.
Thank you, Yasco. Let us then pass to the second part of this evening.